For over the past 3 years, Thomas & Friends has now gone from what used to be a franchise of realistic but simplified trains with faces that appeal to multiple ages, to just a generic baby cartoon reboot that's made to appeal only to kids. And if that wasn't the worst part, the merchandise has also suffered a bit in quality as well, as now most of it, such as push-along, motorized, and even Playrail, have all transformed from toys that also seem to appeal to multiple ages into toys that seem to appeal more to even younger audiences. And I will admit, the new toys aren't too bad and are very detailed and accurate in the new designs, but one thing is clear, they will never be as good as most of the old merch from the original series. And with that being said, there is still one other company out there who's still making good merch from the original series, and that company is Bachmann Trains. Bachmann, throughout the last 3 years, starting from the third year of COVID to 2024, they have really been upping their game with producing all these new models of Thomas and his friends. Not just for the original HO scale line, but also for the large scale models, the N scale models, and even the Neurogauge engines. To put it in light, these last 3 years have been the peak of this large company for model trains. They've come a long way from 2002, the year in which they officially started making Thomas models. And it should be worth noting that when they officially started in 2002, their first 9 models were all based on promotional art instead of the Gauge 1 models used in the original series. But as time went on, they did start to get better, going as far as to making models that are based on the original props, to making models that are more based on the CGI series. Aside from engines and rolling stock, they've also started to make destinations and buildings like Timmins Sheds, Knapper Station, Makeweight Station, the Windmill, and even the Lighthouse. And then we come to 2009, and Bachmann decides to bring Thomas and his friends into the world of large scale, basing every character off the CGI series. And they still look great and perfect for making outdoor layouts as well as other uses. And then we come to 2014, and Bachmann decides to make a variant of Thomas with sound. Not like DCC or anything, but a nice variant that makes sound as it moves along the tracks. And then the same thing happened in 2016 with the large-scale Thomas and Percy. And then we get to 2021, and Bachmann announced they will be updating Thomas and Percy to DCC equipped for HO scale, though those have yet to be released. And then there's also 2015, and Bachmann officially introduced HO 130, aka the narrow gauge engines. And they are still great as they are based closely to the CGI series. And then we get to 2020, and Bachmann decides to go small and introduce Thomas and his friends to N scale, just like how Tomix did, except at a more accurate scale. But they're still great too, as they look very detailed and look very close to the CGI series. And it is so surprising how Bachmann could pack so much detail in a smaller scale. And of course, they have also produced a lot of great sets for all 3 scales, including sets based on characters like James, Percy, Gordon, Emily, and even Salty at one point had his own set. And considering Bachmann is still making models for the franchise, there are just so many possible candidates and ideas to what Bachmann should make next. I would love to see Bachmann make more bigger engines like Hero, Connor, and Caitlin, as well as more unique design characters like Whiff, Winston, and Porter. And for rolling stock, I would like to see Bachmann make more cranes like Judy and Jerome and Rocky, as for a long time, Cranky's been the only crane available. I can also see Bachmann making more buildings and non-rail characters in the future, as it's been a while too. I would like to see Bachmann make characters like Jack, Captain, Trevor, as well as buildings such as Farquhar Station and the Sodor Shipping Company. And of course, as everyone has pointed out for the last 2 decades, Bachmann should definitely start upgrading their older models, considering they're 22 years old and still not very accurate. But with that being said, it's going to be a pretty long road ahead of us before any of these ideas can become a reality, so until then, thank you, Bachmann Trains, for giving us such wonderful models and keeping the spirit of the original Thomas series alive in these models. Even though the franchise nowadays is pretty much dead up till this point, all thanks to a certain company's awful decisions in the past, it's nice to know you still care about this series, and you're really trying your best to make these models as great as possible. Again, thank you, Bachmann Trains. Thank you.